Well, England have named a 33-man provisional squad for the upcoming Euros. Mark Ogden is joining me for this one. Augie, interesting stuff talking about this one because we know that England are absolutely spoiled for choice in a number of positions, which probably explains why we have the 33-man squad. What did you make of it, though? Because like we said, we heard instead of 26, it might have been up to 30, now 33. So how much can we read into the 33 names that we've seen on this paper?
Well, it suggests that Gareth Southgate's got a few issues in terms of doubts over players with injuries. We know that Harry Maguire's got an injury, Jordan Henderson hasn't played for a long time, Calvin Phillips. So that's three key players that he's gone into the build-up to the tournament worrying about. But 33, that's an awful lot of players. That he's going to have to cut 7 players, at least. I mean, we've seen Luis Enrique, the Spain coach, not even pick 26. So the fact that Southgate's gone to 33 does suggest he's got a few doubts. And, there's a lot of defenders in there, there's a lot of strikers. He's going to have to make a lot of big decisions, so in many ways he's kind of delayed the big decision. I'd have been happy to see him pick a smaller squad. I think the fact that Luis Enrique picked a smaller squad with Spain shows that he knows exactly what his team's about, knows exactly where he's going. I think the bigger the squad means more confusion. I think that's the issue with Southgate. There's a lot of confusion there today.
Well, confusion there, I suppose, but it could be jubilation for some players, such as, there's an uncapped quartet there with including the likes of Aaron Ramsdale, Ben White, Ben Godfrey too. What do you think of these? And if you're them, how excited are you getting at this point, or is it going to be very short-lived?
I do think for those players, I think the fact that they're all, as you say, uncapped, this is possibly an opportunity to impress the England setup. I don't think they're going to go to the Euros. I think it's a chance for them to be around the training camp, just see what it's all about and maybe get a bit of experience for the future. I'd be very surprised if they go, but the fact, obviously Harry Maguire is carrying an injury at the minute. He has not played for United for 2 or 3 weeks now, so White could be a possibility there, could get into there. Ben Godfrey as well can play centre half if needs be, so maybe Southgate is covering his bases, but I'd be very surprised if those players went to the Euros because they just don't have the experience and they've not been in the squads prior to this, so it's like I said, it's a surprise. Maybe it's just a case of making up the numbers on the training pitch and the 2 friendlies prior to the tournament.
Well, let's go, I suppose, to one of the headlining names, which is Trent Alexander-Arnold. 2 months ago, you and I, spoke about who England probably would go with, and you also said that you absolutely have to choose Trent Alexander-Arnold in your squad. He is there now in this provisional squad. Does that just kind of underline the point that you were trying to bring across 2 months ago?
Look, I think that when it comes to naming his 26-man squad, I think Alexander-Arnold is going to be on the borderline. If I was picking a team, I'd have him in it. Now, I know that defensively he can be suspect. We saw that in the final weeks of the season, that he can be got at, Alexander-Arnold. And I think when his attacking qualities overshadow his defensive frailties. But I do think that for what he gives, you have to have him in the squad. And I think this is ultimately what gets down to Gareth Southgate as a coach. Is he risk averse, or is he prepared to take a risk on a player like Alexander-Arnold? So what my point is that he's great with free kicks, great set pieces, he's a great cross of the ball. So people like Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, maybe Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford would want Alexander-Arnold to be in the team for his delivery. Now the issue with Alexander-Arnold is if England win the group in the second round, they're likely to play either Portugal, Germany or France. Would you play him against those teams in terms of all the defensive work? Probably not. But you've got Kieran Trippier, you've got Kyle Walker, you've got Reece James, they're all part of the equation. So I think Alexander-Arnold, it's maybe horses for courses. You pick the guy to help you beat the teams that you need to have a cutting edge. But you have to accept that when they're playing the better teams, maybe in the latter stages, he might have to drop out of the team because defensively he's not reliable enough. And that is something he has to work on. He's a great player, great crosser of the ball, a great deliverer of the ball. And I'd be very surprised. Well, I'd be disappointed if he doesn't make the squad because it suggests if he doesn't make the squad that Gareth Southgate is going for a lot of safe players. And you don't win anything with safe players. You've got to take a few chances sometimes.
With that said, though, the last time we did speak about Trent and whether he should go or not to the Euros for England, he was obviously going through a bit of a rough patch at Liverpool. Now, fast forward, we know that they definitely have secured Champions League football. He has, I guess we could say, improved defensively in that much. Do you feel like he's improved enough, and with that Champions League qualification, to, I guess, raise his stock in Gareth Southgate's mind?
I'm not sure he has improved defensively. I've seen him in a few of those games. I think that the Villa game was a case in point, that he scored that late goal and everyone focused on the goal that he scored at the end of the game to get the result. But 10 minutes prior to that, he had a couple of really tricky moments defensively. So, like I say, his attacking attributes often overshadow his defensive frailties. And I think, it's too late now with the tournament on the horizon. But I would look at Alexander-Arnold further forward, maybe in a attacking right wing back role, or maybe a central midfield role, because his distribution with the ball is amazing. He is a risk at full back, but I think you have to take that risk because of what he brings going forward.
Jesse Lingard is also in that squad. You and I spoke about this as well 2 months ago. And I mean, J-Lings, that train has still been going just as good as it was starting at West Ham earlier this year. Definitely as well that you'd pick him to be in the 26?
I think so, yeah. And I think, you have to remember that Gareth Southgate does go with players that have served him well in the past. He likes what he knows. And he knows that Jesse Lingard can deliver. He delivered in the World Cup in 2018. He was one of the best players of the tournament for England. The thing with Lingard is he brings in energy to a team. He runs forward. He kind of tries to, test the opposition. And against weaker opposition, yeah, maybe he's more effective. He may not be effective against the stronger teams, a bit like Alexander-Arnold. But you have to have players who can make an impact against the teams that, struggle against, attacking teams. So he's definitely worthy of his place in the squad. Whether he starts games, I'm not sure. But Lingard for me, if you need to go in the last 20 minutes, he could get you a goal. He's got that effervescence about him that you need in these big tournaments. So definitely have him in the squad. Not sure he starts, but he's certainly a squad player.
Let's talk about some names, I suppose, that didn't even make this 33-man provisional squad. No Danny Ings and no Patrick Bamford, despite how brilliant he has been for Leeds this entire season. Do you feel like that's a big miss, Augie?
I don't think so. Bamford hasn't had a call-up this season. I think Danny Ings has always been on the fringes, and he's had his injuries this season as well. I think you look at the list of strikers that Southgate's picked. There's going to be some good strikers that miss out. You've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Mason Greenwood, Ollie Watkins. I think you're looking at 2 out of 3 there. And the reason I say that is because Calvert-Lewin's had a decent season, but his form has dropped off recently. 3 goals in his last 14 league games in all competition for Everton. So does Calvert-Lewin merit his place? You've got Harry Kane, who's obviously going to lead the line. Where does Calvert-Lewin come in? He's a big threat in the air. But, for me, it's going to be difficult. I think Calvert-Lewin is certainly ahead of Bamford and Danny Ings, but you have to look at his recent form. Ollie Watkins, I think he'll miss out. I think if it's between Watkins and Greenwood, you have to pick Mason Greenwood because he's scoring goals at the top level for Man United. He's had a great end to the season, and he's a talent. He's a real talent, Mason Greenwood. We know that he had his disciplinary issue at the start of the season with Phil Foden in Iceland, but you've got to judge a player on what he does on the pitch. And again, it gets back to Gareth Southgate as a coach. If he's risk averse, he takes Ollie Watkins. If he's ready to take a gamble, he takes Mason Greenwood.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.